Hello and welcome once again. In this video I'll be speaking about an element of early Muslim understanding of our universe that really makes it inseparable to the ridiculous myths and legends of all the cults and religions that preceded or followed it. This video will look at the Islamic myth of creation and the role of the giant whale that carries the earth on its back. Yes, you heard that right, the giant whale that carries the earth on its back. But before I get into that, I'd like to mention something that comes up frequently when debating Muslims in particular. When I'm speaking to them about their religion and highlighting errors in scripture, I often hear Muslims say this to me: talk to a scholar. I've even had this from some of my family and friends. A friend even suggested I fly all the way across the world to talk to his own personal favourite scholar. Now, I wonder if Muslims themselves ever bother speaking to scholars of other religions before dismissing them all. Do I need to speak to a Hindu scholar to be sure I've looked properly into Hinduism and therefore can safely disregard it? Do I need to do the same for Sikhism or Buddhism? Since I have a limited time in this world, it's impossible to study all religions on earth in detail and be able to dismiss them all before settling on one as the ultimate truth. And some Muslims will even go further and demand you learn fluent classical Arabic and only then can you judge Islam fairly. Well, again, do they make the effort to learn all the other foreign languages, to read other scriptures in their original form before dismissing them? I somehow doubt it. Since we have so little time on earth to discover what is ultimately true, it wouldn't be too much to expect absolutely no problems with the one true religion whatsoever. We would have no need for apologists and differing interpretations. We wouldn't see this one true religion divided into numerous sects, let alone sects who appear to violently persecute each other to uphold their version of this supposed one true religion. So anyway, I want to see where we can get to by talking to scholars. Just who are the best scholars to ask? Muslims today live 1,400 years after Muhammad, so they in this day and age obviously cannot tell us what was meant by the Quran's verses, and whether particular hadiths are true or not with 100% accuracy. In fact, all modern scholars will depend on Muslim scholars in the past who have dedicated their entire lives to understanding the religion. The Quran claims to be clear, and generally speaking it is. But there are plenty of verses which aren't universally agreed upon by the experts who analyze those verses. This is where the mufassirin, or exegetes, come in. They often devote their entire lives to understanding Islam and the Quran in order to make it clearer for other Muslims what the verses are supposed to mean. So who better to tell us what Islam is really about than these people who have dedicated their entire lives to this religion? There are over 100 tafsirs available for Muslims to read from, and no two are the same. This in itself kind of leaves the whole concept of divine preservation useless. At best, a Muslim can claim that the Quran is preserved perfectly in its words and letters, but they cannot claim that the meaning of the Quran is preserved perfectly, as we have differing interpretations which disagree among themselves. What's the point of preserving the text, but leaving the text ambiguous in plenty of areas, thereby not preserving the message and the meaning of the scripture? Several tafsirs are regarded more highly than others. The top two for mainstream Sunni Islam are probably the tafsirs of Ibn Kathir and Tabari. This is why I use those two in particular when looking at the interpretation of verses in my videos. Others like Qurtubi and Jalalain are also quite reputable. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen to some Muslim clerics and prominent Islamists and hear their opinion on which tafsirs are the best.
The tafsir is something different. It quotes the meanings of the verse in details according to another Quranic verse or according to the hadith, derived from